I'm Mel.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Beck. And this is We Are Woman.
Welcome back to We Are Woman. Today feels a little different because we're sitting down to wrap up season one. When we first started this podcast, we had a vision of creating conversations that explored what it means to be a woman in today's world. Conversations about authenticity and belonging, leadership, nervous system regulation, relationships, breathwork, courage, and self expression, and the many layers that make us who we are. What we didn't fully know at the time was where those conversations would take us. Over the course of this season, we've shared stories, challenged assumptions, spoken about the messy and beautiful parts of being human, and had the privilege of learning from some incredible guests. So today isn't about teaching anything new. It's simply an opportunity for the three of us to sit down together, reflect on the season, share what surprised us, what may have challenged us or stayed with us, and perhaps what we're taking forward into the next chapter. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and join us for a conversation about what we've learned along the way. Now, Beck and Sarah, we've come to the end of season one, and I'm curious what was something that stuck with you both that our listeners can take away from the season?
Yeah, thanks, Mel. I had the privilege of editing our episodes, and something that really struck me in that process was just everyone's carrying a story. Everyone's got their own experience, their own background. And what really came through over the season was this idea that healing isn't about trying to be someone else or trying to get rid of the bits that I don't like about myself. In
Mm,
fact, in our interviews, we talked about it. People were describing coming home to themselves, becoming more whole and inviting in all of the parts of themselves. And I really loved that. So I found this idea of remembering who we are and coming back to who we are as a person so beautiful. Through all the conversations and a reminder for us and for our listeners and for everyone that might be going through something is that idea of inviting all of those parts and feeling more whole and connected to yourself through bringing and allowing rather than trying to find someone else.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
epic, Beck.
yeah. I think mine is actually on this on a similar thread, which is around the allowing of simply allow the parts that are there, the emotions, the expressions, the thoughts, and everything in our human experience, and the allowance of that actually allows for the ease and the well-being. And
Mm,
at the moment that we resist or try to fix or over accomplish or mold ourselves into particular shapes, that's where we really start to experience suffering and struggling. And for me, the allowing is a feminine quality. Yeah. So that I think that stood out for me in season one most is this deeper embodiment in both males and females. It's really not about gender, but about the
mm,
energetic of allowing. And I think that is so difficult for most of us, particularly in the West, because it is so controversial to what most of us have been taught, which is around accomplishing and fixing and achieving and doing. And not that there's anything wrong with that, by the way. Like, and I hope we've nuanced that in season one
mm.
as well. That there is there is. I love achieving. Like, wow. I mean, if you know me, I love achieving. Like, it's one of my favorite things in the world, pretty much. Um, but to do it from a different place and to really do it from a place of well-being. And I mean, that's been my big journey in life. And it's I think that has been my biggest takeaway from season one is to we can essentially do all the things in life from this place of ease and well-being. And
Mm.
if it's not actually easeful, there's something for us to look at. And
Mm,
I think so many of us have do, including my own self, like have been raised or believed that it's hard work, or something needs some, like we need to struggle in order to get there or something, or so. And what I'm learning is like that is not at all the case. It's actually just like not swimming against the stream of life, but swimming with the stream of life, and it becomes very easeful, and actually the momentum starts to even pick up as well. So for me, yeah, I guess like the integration of the masculine and feminine, but that's really what I took away from season one, that it's the ease and the well-being in every moment is available if we really choose to look at it in that way. And if we heal the wounds that are in the way of us experiencing that in a true, embodied, grounded way.
I think that's so important because so much of the messaging we get is to try and change who we are to match a certain something. And we get so much of that messaging in so many different ways, not just around our looks, but also around how we should speak or the proper personality traits and all of this sort of thing. And what I really got from the conversations we've had is actually become more of ourselves, embrace more of ourselves, and understand ourselves, understand uh, what creates the pattern where we react a certain way, and understand that pattern more so we can learn to be with it in a more healthy way rather than let's change ourselves altogether.
Yeah, I love that, Beck. It speaks into something, yeah, that was one of the themes I kept coming back to this season. And I think both Beck and Sarah, you've spoken to that beautifully just now. For me, it was just how much we edit ourselves.
Mm,
And I don't even know sometimes if we realize we're doing it, we get in the habit of editing our emotions or our needs and our opinions. And Sarah, you spoke about, in the modeling industry, we can edit our bodies and our personality and how we express ourselves, including our sensuality, which is a big one for me too. And I think we become so incredibly skilled at reading the room and subtly adjusting ourselves,
mm,
in order to, it might be on behalf of, safety or earning love or being accepted or unproblematic. Beck, you spoke to that, right? Like just not needing anything and not causing a problem.
mm.
So I think, yeah, I think we're all three of us are touching in on that same piece, the authenticity, the way we edit ourselves. And something that I sat with upon all of this throughout the season was also just getting curious about where it actually comes from. And I think, yeah, we mentioned things like fear of rejection or being too much or loss of belonging. And I think that was a really beautiful exploration, and hopefully our listeners felt that too, whether they can explore what comes up for them, like why are we editing ourselves in certain moments, and yeah, and then therefore what cost is that to us?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, I love that, Mel. I think like what you're speaking to there is in the editing of ourselves, and in the reading the room, as you put it, and
mm,
adjusting ourselves to what we believe would be acceptable. We lose touch with those parts of ourselves that are actually then authentic, right, in
Mm,
some way.
mm,
And in that, we're almost disembodying ourselves. Like it's the process of disembodiment almost, is kind of the way I see it, right? Because the embodiment is the coming home to self, coming home to these parts, and not just as a realization in mind. And I hope we also made that really clear through
mm,
through our conversations, that that's why we share this practice of FBR breathwork, is because it's in the realization of the body, through the body, that these parts really can start to settle and feel safe and reintegrate in such a way that the natural authentic expression comes through. Yeah, so even our aim for authenticity is inauthentic in and of itself. It's like, I want to
mm.
be authentic as well. Well, that's not authentic, like we're missing
so
the
true.
point. Or I want to be this, or I want to be that. I want to be more present. Well, in the wanting is where we move away from what is actually already here. And
Mm,
that it's so much, yeah, it's in the returning of what is, right? And
Mm.
I think that was a really beautiful part that came through from season one for me as well. And I
mm,
also very much look forward to season two, and how yeah, the deeper expression and embodiment can look like that for us as humans as well. Like what can that actually, how can this actually take shape in life? And how can this really change the way we not only feel in our own selves, and which is important, but also how we choose to engage and interact in the world
Mm.
and in life as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you bring up season 2 because this is where what we want to talk about as well, like what we're doing next through this expression, this embodiment, We've and you guys can speak to this too, but we've set the foundations in season 1 to come back to the body. It's not always in the mind, it's in the body as well. And through FBR breath work and our explanations of that technique, we've explored how the body plays such a big part of this. And then so take it away from here, guys. But so now what? We've set the foundations. We're in our bodies, and season 2 is the expression and the embodiment pieces.
What I love about what's coming up in season 2 is we're touching on conversations that previously we weren't allowed to have. So we might be talking about our sensuality, for example,
Mm,
and what it means to express that fully. And this is a conversation that I think as women, we've been told to be sexy, but not too sexy. And so all of this sort of stuff around expectation around what mold we fit in, and then we're going to be talking about things like what does a full expression of sensuality look like. It's so beautiful that we get to explore parts of ourselves that maybe were not allowed to be expressed.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the conversations that we're going to have in this upcoming season. We're going to have a lot of interviews as well, which I'm very
mm,
excited about. So we have some conversations with people that have already been on the podcast, like Edward Dangerfield and Misha Belitis, and also Dan Kurlapski, which will be really beautiful. Yeah, we really get to discover and explore also what is their lens on embodiment and expression,
Mm.
and how do they view this not only in their professional work but also then in their personal life, and how have they worked with these themes in their own selves.
Mm.
And then we've also got some amazing other guests coming. Another really great friend of mine is also coming onto the podcast. Her name is Lara Zilabowitz, and she is an amazing yoga teacher and is also trained in the FBR breathwork technique.
Mm.
And she'll be speaking to how movement and memory also gets stored in the body, and how we can really come into a deeper embodiment through this practice of moving and breathing and letting the body speak again.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And then we've also got Alex Lehman, who is another FBR breathwork practitioner. We'll be interviewing him, as well as Will Twigden, who is also an FBR breathwork practitioner who is practicing in London at the moment.
Mm.
So yeah, we'll have a few really exciting and some more people. Yeah, we've got some more interviews lined up. And so this upcoming season is going to be lots of interviews and lots of conversation with guest speakers, which I'm very excited about as well. I
mm,
think it allows for a more holistic view, on
Mm.
the work and on the practice and what it means to be human. And I'm really looking forward to having these conversations and really dive deep into this topic of embodiment. I think it's a word that's used a lot, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception around what that actually really
Mm.
entails and what that actually really means. And so yeah, I'm just super excited to have more conversations with the three of us, explore this topic, and then with our guest speakers to really create, like, my hope is that we really create a holistic perspective as much as possible, with many different voices on the podcast, to allow you as a listener to also make up your own mind. What
mm.
resonates with you, what works for you, what does embodiment mean to you, and how can you really allow that to inform your reality in a way that feels meaningful. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think if we had to sum it up, if season 1 was about that understanding ourselves and creating the foundations, then season 2, holding all that you just spoke to, Sarah, is what happens next? You know, what happens when the body feels safe, and what happens when the nervous system has more capacity, or what happens when we stop managing ourselves so tightly. It's going to be incredible for each of us and our listeners to find that expression and what feels like life force. You know, nothing makes me more excited that we're going to be touching in on voice, creativity, and movement and play as well. Like it's life force. I feel like we're all going to become alive with this, you know?
Mm. I saw a Kurt Cobain quote the other day that said, wanting to be someone else is a waste of who you are. And I think
Mm.
what we are really looking to do here at We Are Women is just help our listeners, and also as part of these conversations ourselves as well, really connect in with who we are on those deeper levels. And what I really like about the way we're doing it here, connection is medicine, right? And it feels like this is an opportunity that we can build connection. And even if you're sitting in your car listening, or if you're at home and you're mowing the lawn and you've got your headphones in and you're listening, you're still part of this connection. And the connection really helps us create that, as Sarah was talking about, embodiment, really understand we're witnessing, we get to witness it through the interviews that we've got coming up and that we've had so far. And I really love that we've got a lot of men here as well that work with women, or that embody that part of them as well. We can learn to feel that by the connection with others as well. So really love that we've got all of those interviews coming up, and it's such a gift. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I can't wait either. Really looking forward to having these conversations. And on that note as well, of course, we come up with certain themes or topics that we feel is meaningful to explore as a group of women here, that we walk our own life paths, and so we come up with different themes. We hear so many stories. And also, I want to say that if there's anything that comes to mind for you as a listener that feels like a topic or a theme, something you're seeing in either in your own life or in those of others, that feels important to address, that feels meaningful to explore, reach out to us, let us know, and we can definitely have deeper conversations around that on the podcast, as we're really having these conversations ultimately for you and for all of us. So yeah, let us know if there's anything that you want us to have a conversation about, and we can definitely include that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also if any of our listeners want to stay connected with us beyond the podcast, we continue to run our circles we've got our FBR Breathwork circles in Sydney and in Byron, alongside individual offerings from myself, Beck and Sarah. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us individually if something in these conversations have stirred something, or you want to explore FBR Breathwork beyond just this podcast. And yeah, we can talk about one-to-one sessions and circles.
Yeah. And so just a really big thank you for being here and supporting us in season 1, and can't wait to bring you season 2.
Yeah, love that.
You.
Let's go. As we close season 1, one thing feels clearer than ever. So many of the conversations we had this year point back to the same thing. Underneath the striving, the roles we play, the expectations we carry, and the stories we've inherited, there is something in us that wants to be expressed, not performed and perfected, simply expressed. And perhaps that's what season 1 has been preparing us for. We've explored belonging, authenticity, power, nervous system regulation, FBR breathwork, sisterhood, courage, touch, and identity. We've explored what helps us feel safe enough to be ourselves. And from that place, a natural question begins to emerge. What wants to move through us when we're no longer holding ourselves back? And that is exactly where we're heading next. Season 2 is all about expression. Expression through movement, through voice, creativity, and sensuality. And expression through breath. and the nervous system foundations that allow all of that to emerge safely and authentically. We're so grateful you've joined us for this first season, and we can't wait to continue the conversation with you. Until next time, thank you for listening to We Are Woman. So that's all from us today. Thank you so much for tuning in to We Are Woman. I hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on, to feel into, or to carry with you into the rest of your week. Please make sure to click subscribe on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss the latest episodes as they drop. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a woman that would find it helpful, because this isn't just our podcast, it's all of ours, together. You can also follow us on Instagram at We Are Woman Podcast to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join our growing sisterhood. We've got some very special events planned and would love for you to be a part of them. Thank you for being here.